what is the relationship between black magic and getting back to your true self? Okay. Well, the first thing that people think, a lot of the times when they hear black magic is they think evil. They think, you're making a deal with the devil, you're about to become really powerful because you did that, but your soul's going to be damned once you die and all these crazy things. Um, and in reality, that is just one paradigm of what black magic is, and that's a very controlled paradigm, through religion, through the entertainment industry, and that's not at all what this path of black magic is actually even about. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. What exactly is the subject that is at hand for today that I'm going to be speaking about? Okay, I'm going to be discussing how I was able to uncover my true, authentic self by using black magic and going through different forms of dark Kabbalistic initiation. How exactly was I able to do this? Why exactly was I able to do this? And what were some of the things that I experienced along that journey, as well as where I am right now with this process and my current understanding with how some of these different things function. Okay? This is going to be a very valuable video that you are not going to find many other places. I can almost guarantee you that. So if this is something that you're interested in learning a little bit more about, then I highly recommend that you stay tuned, and I will see you on the other side. All right, let me first start off with introducing myself for those of you who may not know who I am right now. My name is JeremiahJSchwartz. I am a professional occultist. I am fully initiated in the entirety of the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. I'm studied when it comes to planetary energies in association with astrology. And I'm also very aware of the nervous system and its relationship to trauma. Okay? So with that being said, let's go ahead and move right into it. So, wow, we're talking about the true self, the authentic self. Some people call this the central self. All right, so the first place that I really want to start with, with this video is giving a little bit of an understanding of like the multiplicity of selves that exist within our psyche as a whole, as the human species, as the human beings that we are. So, due to certain traumas that we experience in our past, we go through certain forms and certain degrees of what is called fragmentation within the psyche. I have entire YouTube videos on my channel that break this down in pretty significant depth. I also have a lot of really good information on my Patreon as well. But yes, so we go through certain forms of this fragmentation, which in many ways creates different parts of ourself within our psyche from that fragmentation. So there's basically many different yous that are existing inside of you, but amongst all the different yous that are existing in you, amongst all those different parts, there is a central you. Okay, there is what we call the true self in spirituality. There is the central self. They call this the big S self in internal family systems that talks a lot about these parts. This is the authentic true self. It's the central self. So really, when, spiritual practitioners and spiritual teachers talk about being enlightened or getting to a space where you are enlightened, what that really means is that you have done enough self-work and processing as well as integration to get to the point where you are now in touch with your true self. Now, the true self is not like an end state. It's not like I have to live my whole life to be a spiritual mystic or guru or occultist to then get to the true self and then everything's, and then I'm finished, right? I hit the end of the road. Like that's the ultimate prize at the end of the tunnel. Everyone, so many people like to have that idea that like there's an end point to this process, and I gotta work, I gotta grind, I gotta do the steps to get to that end point. But in reality, when you get to your true self, that's actually where a lot of the real healing and the deeper layered processing really starts to unfold itself in a very significant way. And absolutely, when you are in touch with your true self, your life changes drastically. Okay, literally your internal state is very different. You now have a sense of groundedness to you. There's a sense of calmness, a sense of kind of just knowing. Um, and of course, this is going to have a significant influence on the entire world around you through the principle as within, as without. Okay? So it does take a lot of work for people to get to this state of being where they are in touch with their authenticity, their true self. Now, when it comes to the nature of most people's identity, most people are actually identified with different parts of themselves that are just parts, but not the whole thing. So remember, the true self is like the central you. It's literally your soul and your spirit that has the ability to observe your human psyche with all these different mechanisms at play. But most people are attached to these different fragments and to these different parts, thinking that that is who they are. Okay? And typically, the parts of ourself that we generally are going to be more attached to are going to be more of the protector parts, which usually are going to be more masculine oriented parts of us because of the nature of trauma and how we needed to create that part to help us survive some of that trauma. Okay? So with that being said, you can imagine that it takes a lot of hold on, I'm going to sneeze. 1 second. Sorry, it's my cat. My cat lives with me now, so I'm still getting used to all that hair being around me and everything in that nature. So as I was saying, when it comes to getting back to this authentic self state, to this true self state, it requires a lot of ego death. It requires a lot of letting go and a lot of dissolving the attachment that we have to certain parts of ourself, to certain parts of our being, thinking that's who we actually are. So, the first place this all starts at is understanding a little bit about what I'm talking about and then being just aware of it. Okay, if you don't even know you have parts, if you don't even know there's a chance you might be identified with one of them and that's not who you actually are, then you're going to have a hard time going through this process. You need to at least be curious enough and have that door open enough to realize this might be something that's going on in your psyche. And guess what? Most likely it is. So, lots of ego death, lots of disillusion has to take place, lots of feeling emotions that have been repressed that we have been resistant to, avoiding towards feeling. It's by feeling some of these negative repressed emotions that allows us to start that dissolving process, which allows us to unattach from certain parts of ourselves, thinking that's all we are. Of course, general education too, to understand the importance of regulating your nervous system and being in tune with your emotions, the ability to be receptive, letting go that need of control, just feeling, listening to understand, trusting the process, trusting that you're safe, even sometimes when it feels like you might not. This understanding can help support this whole process of us dissolving our attachments to all these different parts of ourselves to get back to the central self, to get back to the true self, so that you can actually start living your life from that place of authenticity. All right. So what is the relationship between black magic and getting back to your true self? Okay. Well, the first thing that people think, a lot of the times when they hear black magic is they think evil. They think, you're making a deal with the devil, you're about to become really powerful because you did that, but your soul is going to be damned once you die and all these crazy things. And in reality, that is just one paradigm of what black magic is, and that's a very controlled paradigm through religion, through the entertainment industry. And that's not at all what this path of black magic is actually even about. This would be referred to as the left-hand path, or some people will call it the negative polarity. I like to call it that as well. Now, this path of black magic is actually one of the most powerful paths to, in a very significant way, get back to the authentic self. But once again, not everyone is meant for this path either. This path is not for everybody because there are some significant components that go into this path that are sort of unique to certain souls. So, working with the negative polarity, there is a strong influence of dealing with some of the darker aspects of soul evolution in general, which does have an influence of catalyst. I want to say, I guess, like an influence of enhanced catalyst, which means adversary, right? That's literally what the word Satan means, is adversary. So there's enhanced adversary when you're working with this specific path. And actually, the longer you work with the path, the more you embody that catalytic energy yourself of the adversary towards other human beings, which can manifest in destructive ways, but not in bad ways necessarily. So there's a healthy way to bring destruction into another person's life. I know it may sound a little bit weird, but sometimes that's actually what people need. They need that moment where everything kind of flips itself on its head, and then they get to see who they actually are. And people working with the left-hand path actually, and oftentimes do, have that ability to bring that change, to bring that initiation. So as you can imagine, not everyone's capacity is meant for this type of energy, this heavy, dense, negative energy that's connected to a lot of other astrological phenomena in relation to this darker energy. But there are many people that are, in resonance with this, and this is important for a lot of people's souls' self-development, for them to work with this type of energy. So just like there's a lot of people that aren't meant for it, there's also a lot of people that are, that don't really have the right guidance and don't really have the right understanding on what this is all about and how to use it in a successful way. And that's why, it's one of the reasons why I'm here on YouTube and I do exactly what it is that I do, where I am offering myself as a guide to help people navigate some of these more taboo and darker aspects of spiritual development, especially for those that are in resonance with this path already and we're looking for an authentic way to actually work with these energies. Okay? So, working with black magic, because of the nature of how much adversary is behind it and how much catalyst is behind it, we are diving into some of those deepest portions of the subconscious and the unconscious mind, and we are tapping into aspects of our universe that are very primordial and very, we could once again say dark, really meaning just dense and so primordial that our human conscious mind can't even process it because the energetic resonance of it is so intense, we could say. So of course, when we are working with these initiatory energies, like doing ritualistic practices or doing certain types of invocation of spirits and entities that are connected to this negative polarity, anything in regards to the Qlippoth as well, which is the Kabbalistic system of occult initiation that is more so of the negative aspect of self-development and how the DNA evolves itself through some of those more dense negative energies. When we polarize our experience by working with the Qlippoth, or once again, any of these entities that are a part of this system, we are connecting with aspects of our universe that are going to, in many ways, start the process of breaking down areas of the self that are inauthentic to what the true self actually is. So once again, with all that adversary and all that catalyst that exists within the left-hand path as a whole, a lot of those energies are actually designed on a universal level, on an unconditional love level, to simply be adversary and be catalyst to those parts of us that we may think we are and that we may be attached to, so that we can get back to our true state, our true self state, which is beyond all of these attachments and beyond all these false identities that we've had to create. So, the reality is once again, most people are overly identified with, this masculine fragment within their psyche that they are using as a form of protection. And I understand the reasons why people do that, but this is just the reality, and it cuts a lot of people off from actually knowing who they truly are. So of course, when we get into the left-hand path and we're dealing with some of these darker energies, now we're working with entities that are typically going to be darker, more negatively charged, feminine entities that, we look at the archetype of Lilith, right? Who was not submitting to Adam, right? The archetypal energy and just the significance of what Lilith represents as a whole in our local galaxy is an energy that challenges the masculine. Now, for people that are uninitiated, the way that they interpret that message is women are better than men. Women have to dominate men. Women have to, rise above men. That's not what it's saying. Okay, this is archetypical. This is speaking about energies here. Okay, energies in the sense of masculine and feminine. So this Lilith energy is a strong feminine energy that is quite adversarial towards masculine energy that is inauthentic. Okay, masculine energy that is trying to control, trying to dominate the feminine. Okay, guess what? This happens in women. Okay, there are many women that have this overly masculinized energy. Probably most of it is rooted in some father trauma that they have in their past. And when they work with Lilith, that same Lilith energy attacks or starts the process of dissolving that overly masculine attachment that woman might have. And of course, this works for men as well. The point that I'm trying to draw here is this isn't about men versus women. It had nothing to do with that. This is about masculine and feminine. It's not about versing anything. It's about finding a homeostasis, finding a balance. So, I'll speak on something. There's a common pattern where, women get into the, darker art occult practices, and then they start working with Lilith, and then they get this high. It's almost like a drug high where they're like, oh yeah, fuck men. Men are bad. I'm Lilith. I'm here to destroy men, or I'm here to conquer men. And, really what that is that's a projection of their actual inner state, where that whole I'm going to conquer men, I'm going to do that. That's a warrior energy. That is a masculine energy. That is not the true Lilith. Lilith is a subtle, very deeply feminine energy. Lilith is a receptive energy, a feeling energy, a letting go energy. And this energy sees that overly identified masculine in both men and women, and it pulls that out of people. This is why Lilith is known to be a vampire, or the queen of the vampires. It pulls, it sucks, it takes, it drains that energy out of people, and it leaves them in a position where now they have to be vulnerable. Now they have to start feeling. Now that their inner warrior has been taken away from them, what was underneath of that shell? What was underneath of that shield, right? What's that softness that's inside of them? Okay, this is where the real healing starts to take place. So I always find it funny when, people get on this path, especially women, because I see it happen a lot with women, and they get this like ego trip, and their inner masculine gets turned on even more because they think Lilith is out here to destroy men, and they're just mad, because they had an ex-boyfriend that did them dirty, and, of course they have a lot of trauma connected to their fathers. And then next thing you know, they're working with this energy, and they're starting to get deeper and deeper and deeper in it, and then boom, their entire life gets flipped upside down, and then they start having to get more vulnerable and realize that what they were doing, trying to, fight men or conquer men, had nothing to do with any of it, and it was actually just a manifestation of their trauma. It was a manifestation of their ability to process and understand what was actually deeper inside of their nervous system. Okay, so that is definitely something that happens. And this happens for men too. You know, it's a little bit less common that that pattern happens for men, but it does happen for men too. And I'm trying to think here. Yeah. And just in general, you know, and this, you know, I'll make a whole nother video on this subject, but just in general, you know, black magic and the occult, the darker aspects of the occult in many ways is almost like a drug. You know, it's really, I mean, I've been doing this for 7 years now, and I've encountered a lot of different people, you know, through this process. And I've seen a lot of people that use this energy, they use this practice as if it is a drug. And it's usually at first, it's fueling this part of themselves that they think that is like going to be in control. They think is going to dominate, is going to take over, is going to protect them. That's that masculine part. And the deeper they get, like that part of them gets destroyed. It gets dissolved. It disintegrates. And then the person is left with their vulnerability, and they're left with their inner child. And a lot of people didn't know what they were getting themselves into. They didn't fully understand that that's what was about to happen. And this is where a lot of things start to come through, and people go psychotic. You know, people get into deep states of psychosis. People lose their mind because now everything that they thought they could control is gone. And in reality, that's what they opened up. You know, they were working with these energies for a reason, and they opened up those doors to do that deeper healing. But, you know, part of them didn't know that that's what was going to happen. And it's always an interesting thing to see take place in other people, you know, as a teacher myself in this field who's experienced these things myself. You know, I'm no different. I went down that same path. You know, I had to process it, obviously, and I did, but it's not easy. And I've seen a lot of people use black magic as a drug, and then when it starts to get deep, when it starts to go underneath the surface, I've seen people completely lose everything, where they don't know what to do, and everything flips upside down. And it's like, all right, I'm not that serious about this anymore. You know, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna leave out, and that's fine. You know, if people need to do that, to reestablish their capacity and try to re-regulate themselves, that's very understandable. There's nothing wrong about taking a step back, but it's, you know, I see it happen so often where people come in hard and they're hitting it hard, and then boom, they got to step away for, you know, a pretty long period of time to kind of let things simmer down. And I share this just so that you as a listener can actually understand like what's going on, you know, with some of these energies and what takes place. Now, because of that nature, though, of these energies that we work with, it, you know, as you work with it, right? Not against it, but as you work with it within time, and you start to realize that the universe is manifesting these darker energies that we're working with through ritual, through invocation, you start to realize the universe shows you very sensitively these parts of you that are needing to shift or needing to be looked at deeper. And it gives you opportunity, which is still uncomfortable, but it gives you opportunity to let go more. It gives you opportunity to say, you know what? Maybe I don't know what's happening here. Maybe I'm not in as much control as I thought I was. So it really gives you that opportunity to take that step back and let go and go through that uncomfortable process of not being in control and really stepping into that unknown space where, once again, then those emotions can really start to come through. And as you feel those emotions, that's where the healing is taking place. That's where the deep integration is going to be unfolding. That's where you're starting to get in touch, you know, with more of your vulnerability. And as you're doing that, slowly you're starting to get more into your authentic self, your true self, which is a very grounded state. It's honestly, I mean, this is my true self right now as I'm making this video. Okay. You can see it's a grounded energy. It's a calm energy. It's a compassionate energy. Okay. This is the general nature of the true self. There's also a firmness here. There's like a knowing and a firmness. Now, through all the self-development and initiatory practices that I went through, it allowed me to get back to this state through the journey, I should say. But even though I'm experiencing this in this present moment, doesn't mean I don't phase in and phase out still of some of my different parts within my psyche. There are certain degrees and certain levels of trauma work that will cause these different parts within the psyche to resurface, even if you've already done a lot of work. But it's all a part of the process. And the more you understand what's going on in your psyche and the more you can understand your parts, the more you can better navigate when they're coming through and what it is that they're trying to show you. So there's still periods of my life, with where I'm at, where certain parts of me might take over. But the difference is I'm aware when they're there, so I can better observe them and then let them go when it's time to let them go. And I use it as a healing modality. So when those parts come through, I'm actually letting them come through. I'm letting them express because I know they're there for a reason and I know they're trying to show me something. So maybe I'm being triggered and something's happening that reminds me of something from the past, and it gives me an opportunity to revisit the past, to reconnect with whatever's triggering me, to try to find that root and resolve that by maybe just being present with that part of myself that experienced that trauma, and then feeling whatever emotion came with that, and maybe going through a visual process of visiting myself back in that memory and giving it a hug, connecting with it, letting it know I'm with you, I'm here, it's okay, right? So this is the true self. This is like how you can really get in tune with your true self using black magic. It is one of the most powerful ways to do it. It's also one of the quickest ways to do it, which is why there's so much room for potential danger, because people think that they want to just be their true self and they want to do it tomorrow. But once again, like, you have to understand what your true self entails, right? Your true self is not just a powerful state where you're in control of everything. Your true self is you being vulnerable, you knowing who you are and what you are, and being safe in the universe, which is where that vulnerable part comes in. It's like, the universe is nurturing you. So because of that, you have the ability to be vulnerable. You have the ability to feel where most people can't. You have the ability to connect where most people can't. You have the ability to trust the process and trust that things are working out when most people can't, right? You have the ability to experience things within your subconscious that most people are resisting, okay? This is what real authenticity is. And the more you allow yourself to, be in that state and work with that state, the more integrated it becomes, the more refined it becomes, the more you understand it, the more you have a relationship with it. And that's where the most healing is taking place. So a lot of healing happens with our vulnerable parts, our inner child parts. And the most healing that can happen is when you're in your central self with your vulnerable parts. Okay? When you're in your central self with some of your protector parts, that is when you are in the most healing state. And I'm at a place in my life where, I've opened up so many different energetic doors within my physical body and my energy field, as well as have connected with all these different, forces within the universe, energies within the universe, where if I start to really get off track, and let's say I start to identify with my protector energy and I hold on to it, I'm at a point of development where I get course corrected so quickly. Like, the universe will send me someone, and it's usually a woman, actually. It's usually a woman. It will send me a woman that will break me out of that protector energy by leading me back to the feminine. It's like every time. Okay. And this has happened to me, a couple times, where, I'm doing the work and then I'm going deeper and deeper, and then something triggers and then my protector comes back on, almost as if I'm back in the memory. And I'm, sometimes part of me attaches to that protector, where it's like, I'm aware it's here, but I'm attaching to it and I'm holding on to it. I'm still observing it, but I'm still allowing myself to attach to it. And then I get sent someone or some sort of event or circumstance in a very sensitive way that then shows me that I'm attached. It's like the woman will tell me, hey, you need to just let go. You need to be more in your feminine energy. And it's like, I didn't even say anything about that. Like, there was no word, like, I didn't ask her for her opinion. I didn't ask her, for her to tell me anything. It's just she's telling me. And a deep part of me, vulnerable part of me, authentic part of me knows that that's true. And that's something that I need to do. So then I have an opportunity to let go more. I might manifest situations and circumstances in a very sensitive way that show me that the energy that I'm in when I'm attached to, a part of myself that's not truly me, it's time to let go of that. So if I attach to my protector parts, which are, definitely more rigid, and I'm holding on to that and I'm thinking that's me, I will manifest circumstances that are very adversarial, circumstances that are very abrasive and very aggressive. And it's like this energy of warfare. And, of course I can go into that and I can work with that energy, but you get to a point where it's like, how much do I want to keep doing that? Like, the war never ends. Like, I'm ready to step into the other side of this. I'm ready to, evolve from the warrior to the king, where I don't have to go to battle anymore. Now I get to kind of observe everything from that different perspective. Okay, so that's where things are with me. And this is largely because of what I work with when it comes to black magic, when it comes to working with these darker spirits, these darker entities, these literal extraterrestrial beings in our local galaxy that work with some of these denser, darker energies. Okay, these more primordial energies. Qlippothic initiation, polarizing, this more dense energy within the DNA strand, within myself, of course, within my energy field as well. It sets my life up in a way where, it leads me on the path that is healthy for me, that is important for me, and it course corrects me very quickly when I start kind of straying off of that, which is a really valuable component. This is a really healthy way to stay in tune and to stay in alignment with the true self, the authentic self. Now, does this mean, as I'm saying all this, does this mean that you have to be, a black magician or an occultist in this type of way in order to get to the awareness of your true self? No, not at all. This is a path. This is a soul evolutionary path that I personally believe is one of the most powerful and quickest ways to get in tune with that part of the self. But once again, because I said that doesn't mean it's for everyone. There are many different avenues to get into that state of the true self. Like, it goes all the way from different therapies, you could do it through occultism. It doesn't necessarily have to be the darker aspects of occultism. But it's still going to require going into some of the darker parts of the self, regardless of what path you're doing this with, because, the authentic self exists, deep in the unconscious and subconscious mind of all of us. So to some extent, it is going to require us to go into our, our unconscious, those darker parts of us, and it will require us to feel these negative emotions. This is why I think the black magic path is one of the most significant paths to do this work. But it, as I said, like, it comes with its price. There's a risk with it. Whereas with other practices, there may be more of a leaning into it and more of a, a longer drawn out process of getting closer and closer to that state, which could be a little bit easier to do, which I would say absolutely would be easier to do rather than just jumping into the ocean of black magic and just going straight for it and hoping that you get there. Okay? So with that being said, I feel like I shared everything that I need to share in today's video. That's going to wrap it up. Hopefully what you got from this is you got some understanding on what black magic really is and how it's used and how it shows up when we are going through this inner growth process of getting in tune with our authenticity in relation to these different parts of our psyche and these different fragments of consciousness, and how this darker energy tends to take these protector parts of us and it shows them in a more intense way that we need to pull back, that we need to step aside from them. And that's where the value is. That's where we get to really surrender and be in that state of no thing, rather than feeling like I have to be something, I have to be a thing. What does it mean to be no thing? What is that nothingness, that emptiness? What state do you get into where you can actually feel that nothingness? That is going to ground deep into a authentic state there, because when you're not being a thing or you're not striving to be something, you just are what you are, which is no thing and all things. Okay, so with this, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you enjoyed this video, definitely make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Drop down in the comment section and let me know exactly how this influenced you. I would love to hear your perspective on that. And just leave any other comments that you want, that you feel like are going to be valuable and in regards to this video that I just made today. Hit the notification bell. Make sure you're getting notified whenever I'm posting. You definitely don't want to be missing out on that. Hit the subscribe button. So make sure you are subscribing to my channel so that you are further energetically connecting to everything it is that I'm teaching. There really is an energetic component behind that. So definitely tap into that and subscribe. All right, now we're going to go into, actually, I want to say this. If you know anyone that is going to gain value from this video, absolutely copy and paste the link and send it to them, and make sure you do them that favor. Okay, I'm sure that they would very much so appreciate it. It'll be a good thing for you on a karmic level, and it will also do me a favor. So go ahead and take advantage of that. Okay, now we're going to go into the first link in that YouTube description at the top. This is the first link. This is my Patreon. Now, on my Patreon, I have an entire vault of exclusive occult content, and none of it is on my public YouTube channel. This is only accessible to the members. Deep occult knowledge that you are not going to hear anywhere else. Occult practices that you're not going to find anywhere else. Nervous system regulation, education, and practices. Things in regards to creating a healthy foundation. A whole host of valuable content is over on the Patreon, and I have it broken down in an ordered fashion in what's called collections. So it's basically like different genres that you can study for whatever it is that you're interested in learning about. Okay, I go in pretty deep about real occult vampirism and what that actually is and what that actually looks like. So definitely check that out. Tier number 3 and 4 of the Patreon gives you access to the only ritual service that I perform on my collective. This ritual is called the Universe B Vampire Ritual. Now, this is performed on the full moon of every month. And to start off by saying, this is not for everyone. This is for certain people that are once again in resonance with the darker aspects of spiritual evolution. Now, if that's you, then this is for you, okay? This is an energetic transfer from me to the active receiving participant so that the participant can use me as an energetic guide to help them better navigate some of the deeper unconscious and subconscious spaces of their own psyche and help them to go through some of the deeper initiatory practices when it comes to working with some of these darker energies. Because, you know, what you'll find is when you start working with a lot of these darker energies, they lead you down a path, and that path leads to the Qlippoth. So in order to really work with these energies in a, healthy, integrated way, there are things that are important to implement, and that is what this service is offering, where I can be a guide for you and help you on an energetic level navigate some of these different understandings so that you can go through this with a higher success rate. Okay, so once again, all of that is on the Patreon. If that's something you're interested in, definitely look into it. It's that first link below. Okay, now in the second link below, this is where you can book a one-on-one call with me, or it's where you can book a mentorship. Now, mentorships are actually one of the most intimate and powerful ways to personally work with me, At this point in time, my entire schedule is full. I literally do mentorship calls every single day. If you're interested in this, I would definitely consider taking advantage of it. What we're going to do is we're going to work on your foundation. We're going to go deeper into some of your traumas. We're going to create a safe space within yourself and your environment so that you can start regulating more, so that you can do some of the deeper emotional processing. And then once we have all that, pretty much going in place and where it's created a momentum, then what we can do is we can start transitioning into some of the deeper occult practices. So this will be along the lines of things like Qlippothic initiation, and we can do that together. Okay? So if that's what you're interested in, look into it. It is the second link below. Now, also within that same second link below, you have an option to book a very unique tarot card reading from Alexia. So Alexia is a really good tarot card reader. She's actually done my reading for me, and it was very on point. Like everything that she broke down and everything that she read was exactly what I was experiencing, and that is why I chose her to take on this role for my YouTube channel, to be a reader under Universal Mastery for this point in time. So if you want to get your reading from her and understand what's going on in your life right now in much more depth and understand kind of where things are headed, definitely consider getting your reading. She's also educated when it comes to understanding how the Kabbalah connects to the tarot cards. So she can also tell you the Kabbalah correspondence based on your present moment, based on where you're headed. Okay? Definitely look into it. Second link below. We'll leave it there. Third link below is the LUCIFERS Foundation course. This is a very powerful course with 11 different modules that you will have permanently for the rest of your life, that gives you absolutely everything you need to know in relation to developing a powerful, healthy relationship with the energy known as Lucifer. As someone that works very deeply with Lucifer, and me and Nick McCool, we actually partnered on this course together, and Nick McCool also has a very deep relationship with Lucifer as well and is a very serious practitioner. We have partnered together to make this course, and we share everything we know and everything you need to know to once again create this relationship. Very powerful information. Lots of people are purchasing this course, and it's continuing to sell on a daily basis. So if you want to take advantage of it, definitely do so. It is the third link below. Look into it. Fourth link below is where you can become a YouTube member. Now, I would love to have you as a YouTube member. It's always great to have the YouTube members. Great to see familiar faces. Great to have like-minded individuals in a community together. And you're getting a host of other different types of benefits from the YouTube membership as well. So I'll let you look into those yourself. I don't really feel like breaking all that down right now, but definitely check it out. I would love to have you show up in the comment section with a green name, with a little badge next to your name. So all of that can be done at that fourth link below. All right. Fifth link below, that's the final link. This is where you can purchase all the books that you need to have to understand everything that's going on with this initiatory structure. So when it comes to the Qlippoth, when it comes to the Sephiroth, the 22 tunnels of Set, the 22 major arcana pathways, 72 angels, 72 demons, this is all the information that you need in a 4 ebook bundle that is only selling for $128 for 4 ebooks, which is absolutely nothing. And all the information that's gathered in that is the real deal occult advanced information, but it's actually broken down in a much easier to understand and much easier to digest way. And we made sure that we did that with these books so that everyone that is clearly studying from my channel, everyone that's studying from Nick's channel, The Cosmic Observer, has the right tools at their fingertips to understand some of these deeper, initiatory practices and things in that nature. Okay, so if you're interested in it, definitely look into it. All that I ask of you, if you make your purchase, is to recommend it to someone that you also feel like will gain value from it. Okay? With that being said, this is going to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate all of you very, very much. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.